Nathan is here. So Nathan, do you want to kick us off and just run through Leah's not going to be here tonight, and Scott Bader's just running a bit late due to traffic. So Nathan, if you have the agenda and can run through roll call real quick, then I'll go off camera and send these maps out that Bob sent, and that way everyone can look at them from their own screen instead of a share screen, which is hard because sometimes people scroll too fast.
Oh,
So
good. Certainly, yeah. So let's do roll then. Leah is excused. Mr. Bader is late. Ana Benitez.
Here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you very, very little.
Can you hear me? Here.
Susan Neely.
Here.
Jared Seitz.
Here.
Myself, I'm present. Jocelyn Sievers. Simone Tarver, who I think is here, but maybe on mute. And Angela Pioli.
Here.
Outstanding. I think everybody is here except for the one excused absence, which is it's okay. Zoom doesn't like everybody. There are other applications available. It's all good. So with that said, I don't think we have any community comment to acknowledge in this session. I'm sure we've got some staff comments when Nicole gets back.
that's correct. We have no community comments. I did just send out the late documents from Bob. I apologize for the late documents and agenda this morning, or this afternoon. And he emailed me at 4 and was like, hey, just curious if I missed something. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought it was 2:00. We're doing a big community-wide garbage day on Saturday that I'm spearheading. So I'm up against the wire. I appreciate all of your patience. And yeah, those are my comments today. Check your inbox for those forms that Bob's going to go through. And I'm also able to add those to the website right now. For those in the community that are watching, those will be uploaded.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. So I guess probably over to Bob for, I guess, an overview of what you intend to do in general.
Thank you, Nathan. Hello again, Bob Schweitzer, Sammamish Data Systems. Looks like you guys had a lot of fun coming up with some really good districting plans back in 2020. And they seem to hold up very well. You had a population of 10320 with an average of 604 to work with. Everybody knew there's going to be growth. There was going to be change. I didn't even bother looking at what the projections were. In anything to do with Snohomish County, the projections were pretty much, no one could keep up with what happened in your area. At least you guys are a bit calmer in the storm as compared to the rest of Snohomish County. That being said, you ended up with some pretty good districts of plus or minus, well, the low of 839 and a positive of 384, and a near tie at 383. Really good. Good job. The new numbers. I've taken in your existing city limits. I added in the annex, which affected no population whatsoever. So there, the maps will reflect that that area of water up there. your 2020 numbers are now 110,626 people per the 2020 census. Love it or hate it, those unfortunately are the numbers we've got. And they struggle to get us these numbers as it is. So I took your existing lines, loaded them in. They matched up very nicely with census geography because the census now really respects our precinct boundaries in the census geography. In the past, there had been a lot more flakiness to how well our precincts got introduced into what the Census Bureau calls their VTD, voting tabulation districts. Our precincts are different than a lot of the rest of the country. They're much smaller. They have a much more finite number of people in them. So we are different in that aspect. Our Washington State Redistricting Commission worked very hard to get the precincts into a state that they are in the 2020 census. So from what I've seen over the decades, it's amazingly cool how well we all match up. So your northern district is 20,992 people. Taking the average of 5, that means it's low by 1,134 people. So it has a change of almost 1,500 people. The second grew, and it grew by about 700 people and is now 22,930. So that is a growth that is below your mean that you had before, where your mean was 839. Your worst district in deviation is your third district, which is now 20,625. It before was negative 839. It has fallen by roughly 700 people. So it has not grown, and it was already small to begin with. The fourth district was low by negative 18 previously. It is now 23,224, 10,098. So it was a fast growing district. Gaining nearly over 1,000. Your fifth district is 22,858. Grew by 300 and some. So it almost doubled in its deviation. So that's what we've got. A low of almost 7% and a high of almost, just over, I guess I didn't put that in my notes. Anyway, so we have an over of 804. I just don't see the percentage here real quick. Is there any questions with this so far? All right. So we don't have a lot of work to do. Your basic lines are good. Is there any hue and cry that we need to know about in the existing boundaries that were created? Has there been any disfavor or recommendations on things that we should be looking at, barring even these numbers?
I have not received any comment from the community about changing what we currently have since our 19 meetings. So during that time, we did have community comment that's fully documented on our website in the archive section that I can link out to all of you if you want to review that comment. But since then, I have received no feedback on specific boundaries.
Okay, and I get the sense that no one in this panel is overly concerned about any particular thing that was done back then, now that it's 2 years-ish later. All right. All right. One change in the area of the law from this last summer was they've reworded in the area of section number 4, section A, they have reworded that sentence from what you were using as a guideline previous. It now says, A, each internal director, director, council, commission, district shall be nearly as equal in population as possible to each and every other such district comprising of said district. So really what they've added in here is as nearly equal in population as possible. Until there are actual lawsuits and actual judgments, and this is used as a argument and someone says something in writing, I don't know what that means, in the sense that how does that really differ from previously, other than the fact that they may be trying to state that they want you to potentially consider going more equal. Given the parameters of last time with the high preponderance towards not splitting any precincts, and I believe there was no precinct split. Based on that criterion, you guys did very well. It is very possible for us to split a precinct. There is nothing in the law that says we cannot split precincts. There is area in the law that says that we should consider them, in that it being item E, the whole communities of interest. And so communities of interest are, of course, the precincts and the neighborhoods and whatever we as a group determine to be communities of interest for the need of fairness. That is one of the things for you guys to consider. Does this change in the law drive any possibility of changing previous mandates to trying not to split precincts? So that is a consideration for you based off of my understanding of this new law. And then the rest of my maps that I provided to you is, it's just a show and tell that I got things accurate. As a point of note, the county got me their 2022 precinct boundary lines. So the boundary lines you're seeing there with the labels, those are your most current based off of last May. There is very few, changes along your commissioner district lines. And then there's the following pages are 2 reports. These are just goes over the snippets of what I was talking about before, the deviations, gives you the percentages, and then some of the basic racial counts. That's the first report, and then there's a bit more in detail on the various races with your fourth district being of the most Hispanic district, followed by the fifth. And and that goes again with your Black population, although the second is coming up quickly behind. The fifth district as a solid third in that aspect, and then the first and third being the least. Your Native American are broad spectrum across the board. The Asian is the highs are in the fourth and the fifth district. The small amounts of Pacific Islanders. The other, those of other races than the five primary, the biggest grouping of them is your fourth. So your fourth district is your minority district, your greatest minority district. So when making changes there, we should at least try to consider those precincts or parts of those precincts that that potentially add to that, keeping it a strong, is your strongest minority district, and try not to water down the fourth. But the Painfield Freeway is a pretty good border. I don't see us wanting to move the fourth, in the direction of Mukilteo or that like. I again also included the overall race report from your previous work to compare with my maps and my two relatively simple reports. Thoughts, concerns, issues? All right. Well, let's take a look at what does the commission, the commission used parameters previously. Are there any changes to the parameter that you, the commission, are considering?
I don't think we've held any discussion on that current or as of yet. So that might be something that we are open to discuss. Leave it for anybody to make a comment.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting the splitting of precincts. I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. If we want to make our numbers closer than what was done previously, there shouldn't be any negative ramifications for splitting a precinct, other than, we might get some improvement in some of the compactness and some of the weird shaped precincts. But overall, I can't see how anyone would argue about compactness over the work that you've done previously, and the likely directions that we might go shouldn't, we're not talking huge changes.
I think if there's anything that somebody has at the top of their mind today that they've been thinking about, that they want to ask about changing or, discuss, fantastic. But I do think that because I was so late getting the materials out, that maybe this is a question that we ask, and then people can go through the website, look at the comments, and think about that and bring it back at our next meeting, where we can really dive into if there are changes, having those discussed, or if you do your research and decide, hey, I'm pretty comfortable with this, it looks like it's good, then we can make those comments then. I don't think 40 minutes was enough time for people to really think through that comment, and I own that, but I also don't want to put anyone on the spot like they have to make those comments right now today.
Yes, let's please not make Nicole feel under pressure.
I would appreciate that so that I can print everything and have it in front of me because I'm going back and forth screen to screen. And I do have some questions for us to discuss, but I'm a little confused going back and forth from map to map and I need it in front of me. And it's hard to do that on my screen, toggling back and forth. And number wise, I think that, you know, everything looks really nice, but I'm wondering about population and when we divide between white and non-white and different origins of race, it doesn't look even. I mean, there are some things that I do have some questions about and would like to talk about, but I would love to have it in front of me. And I'm sorry, I can't really give you a very good educated discussion at the moment.
I think
Perfectly.
something to think about for race as well, just for everyone is, I believe, and Simone might be able to speak better to this, is the commission in our last time, they didn't want to split the communities of color that we have. They wanted to try to keep those communities of color together, specifically around Casino Road, to create voting power. So I don't know what you meant by the word even, but I think of spread out, and it was actually their intention to keep close together so that they would have the ability to have a stronger vote. So I just wanted to put that out there, not trying to assume you meant anything by that, but just for their intent.
Yeah, and I can hop in. We kind of talked a little bit about this when we were talking about cracking and packing, but when you start to get into like trying to evenly distribute communities of color throughout the districts, you kind of end up creating the opposite of what you want, which is it's going to dilute that power. And so that was something we talked a lot about, was preserving communities of mutual interest, and then doing as much as we can to not disrupt the neighborhoods too much, which was more or less impossible, but it was something we tried for. And then we've talked a little bit about the splitting precincts and kind of our deviation. And last time we decided not to split precincts because it's already kind of our smallest level, and we just never had any places where it was so tight that it was necessary, like absolutely necessary to do. And then I think with deviation, we said, I want to say it was like 2.5% plus or minus, I think is what we decided on. But those are all things we can discuss when we've all had a chance to review the materials a little more.
Yeah, when it comes to the 4th district, what I was saying when we make changes is to try to not dilute it from what it is, what you've created from it. It is high by 1,000 people. So we are going to potentially be looking at removing some of those people from there. The obvious place happens to be the Everett 40 precinct with its funky L-shaped area, which is the furthest east precinct that shows in my maps the color blue. So but we can look in at the census blocks within there and see what is the impact of the various census blocks that make up Everett 40.
Bob, I want to make sure before we get too far along on the conversation, I did see Anna put her hand up.
Oh.
And so I want to make sure that she got her comment in there.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, so yeah, I agree with Jocelyn. I need to look through all the documents and the material, but I have kind of like my concern was same like racial, but at the same time, what about socioeconomical and education? Because in District 4, yeah, there are like more Latins, minorities, but how do we know that all of them are like being like a powerful, like able to vote? Because not all of them, maybe not all of them read or like have the education to do that. So that would be really important. That's why I think diversity is important based on education and socioeconomical.
That's actually a really interesting comment that you bring up. And we actually, not in the South, but in the North, got to see that play out between Delta and Northwest. So there was some opinions about the community that if you combine Delta and Northwest, that Northwest, because it's like has higher voter turnout and more wealth, was going to overpower Delta. And the Delta candidate actually beat out the Northwest candidate, and we had more people show up to vote from the Delta community. And so they've actually banded together and beat out that Northwest neighborhood, which was a really interesting thing to see pan out after staffing this commission. And our previous districting commissioner was, or not commissioner, Master said that that was very possible to happen. And most of the community was like, there's no way that's going to happen. Historically, it's always been Northwest, and boom, Delta showed up and beat Northwest. So it was a really cool thing to see pan out. And I'll be really interested to hear your guys' conversation around that in the South area.
Can I also, I know we're going off the latest census numbers, but as a group, is it legal or fair to discuss the 1,000 new homes that are going in along the river, the 500 new apartments that are going in where Kmart used to stand? Or is that something we don't even talk about right now when we're discussing this?
Well, specifically the RCW that governs this specifically says the data to be used for the purposes of redistricting is the most current delennial census.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll just ignore that we'll get a few thousand more people in certain neighborhoods right now.
You can talk about it. It just can't
Okay.
be, the numbers still have, you can't predict
Okay.
new numbers. So you can talk
Perfect.
about how it could change the culture of the community or
Mhm.
or how it relates, but we can't make any like number decisions based off of predictions. We can only base
Okay.
it based off of the numbers from the census.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoy this. Feel free to let Nicole know if there's any questions that need to be passed on to me. I'm happy to go over any of this with you and try to go into much more detail. Did your previous redistricting commission person, did he have the ability to go down to the census block level with you to show you the various populations and counts at the actual census block, the below the precinct level?
He did, and he put together some pretty comprehensive packets that are in the archive area.
Okay.
I'll send you that link, Bob, so you don't have to search around for it.
Okay.
And yeah, we have, I mean, I feel like we got, I feel like there was more information than I would ever have been able to read, comprehend, or understand from our master the first time. But to be fair, that was going from no districts to districts. So it was a much bigger beast than kind of having something to edit. So
I definitely remember when I bid on that, it was going to be a very new environment because of the simple fact you were not redistricting, you were creating from anew. You had this, you guys got this change from the at large to creating this. It's amazing. Although I am wondering if he got paid by the word, because boy, he wrote a lot. And it's fascinating stuff. No judgment on my part. It's, I love seeing what others do along this line. At this point, it's relatively simple of we need to determine where you would like to go, how you'd like to get there. And the numbers really aren't that bad. The first needs to grow. it's a little small. The fourth is a little big. The third is a little small. The second and the fifth could use a little weaning maybe. Even if we were to try to get to that 2.5%. I would love to help guide you. I'm looking forward to helping guide you guys towards that direction and keeping the racial parity where you guys want it. Unfortunately, this is a free country and people live wherever the heck they want. It does make it a little harder to help group.
I just had a quick thing, Bob. Is it possible to get a breakdown by district, and which you've already, you've done the district and you've done the precincts, and then inside the precincts, breakdown inside the precincts, the census tract data for population, and present that to us at the next meeting? So like in Everett 42, it's broken down into whatever Everett 42 happens to be.
I don't have the numbers right now, but sure, I can see what I can do to try to do that. We can, in my mapping software, I can always, group, Everett 42, and then lasso all the blocks, put it into a different district and see what impact it has on, what that district has in the way of overall population. And then if we were to change some of those from a false district, a temporary district, into another district, and seeing those changes as they actively happen. So we can do that, and we can do that at the block level to the precinct level. The census counts are just not done to the 2022 precinct boundaries, but I do have the 2020 precinct counts as well. I will probably also be advised for me to make sure if there are any precincts, if they've been split, to know where we will have to look at the census block data versus not being able to refer to the 2020 census at the precinct level for those counts.
Hey, Bob, quick question. Are you able to provide us with the 2020, the ACS data that's going to have more of that socioeconomic data for the for our city?
The ACS file, that is not part of the redistricting database. I know for the fact that the short form and the long form data still hasn't even been published by the Census Bureau. So we're still waiting on even the basic information of the short form, long form. That's over a year behind schedule. And I don't know when that's going to ever come out. They just keep finding problems and keep deferring. Yeah, let me take a look real quick. Let's see what level I'm not very familiar with it, since I don't generally, I don't use data beyond the redistricting data in it. I don't know what geography level it goes down to. Most of that stuff typically only goes down to the census tract level, which is an area larger than your precincts. But sure, I can get you the census tracts. Well, we can show the census tracts in the maps. We can show which tracts they are. We can have the ACS data, if it goes down to the tracts, to be able to refer to help you to understand that. So yeah, let me make a note to get the ACS data for at least the county, and then parse out of it the city of Everett and your annexations that exceed the boundary. You start with the county, you trim down.
Yeah, my thought is it could be helpful as we're thinking about those communities of mutual interest, that it could help give us just another piece of data to kind of combine with our own experiences as people that live in this community. We can kind of, use both of those as our reasonings of, what we decide to change and why.
Yeah, it would definitely be more helpful if it broke down the census tract down to the census block group. But knowing the Census Bureau, I don't have hope for that. Just a little bit of background. My father used to be a regional director of the Census Bureau. He was also in charge of the geography department of the Census Bureau. He was in charge of the Northwest region of the census for the 1980 census. My brother, this might seem like we're too tied to the Census Bureau. My brother is a special liaison from the Federal Reserve Bank to the Census Bureau for helping to try to get data integrity and data quality to deal with all of the fiasco. So that's where some of my information is coming from on the delays of data.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you.
I'm way too tied to the census. Oh, was there any other data that you guys might, or other things that you might want me to look into to make sure I can better respond to?
I see Scott just joined us, and I was curious. We had earlier, just to catch you up, Scott, we had talked about changes and edits that need to be made, and decided everyone would go back, do their homework, and come back. I've sent out a couple emails since this has started with some more information, so everyone can get comfortable with what they're talking about, because there just wasn't quite enough time for people to really dive in for this conversation. But for everyone, one thing would be helpful to do today before we close out is A, we got to pass the minutes from the last two meetings, but B, we should put on our calendar some tentative days to try to set those 7 community meetings that we need to have, so that I can try to figure out locations and such. And we can do that towards the end, but just be thinking about your calendars for August.
Nicole, is there ever going to be a time where we are actually going to meet in person? Has that been something that has been discussed, or is an option for our team?
It's an option. It's not necessary. We have a plan in place for these meetings to be cast, and they're put on YouTube so people can watch them, so they're public. All 7 of those community meetings have to be in person in each district, and 2 at large. The 2 at large, or maybe one of the 2 at large, can be remote, but I'm still working with our legal team on the parameters around that. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for us 7 to meet in person. And if you all decide that in person is going to be better for you, then I can accommodate that. We can make that happen. It's a conversation for you all. We can meet in the council chambers or the hearing room in the Wall Street building downtown.
Alrighty, well, if there is nothing else for Bob, I think we're good there. Thank you very much. We do have, like Nicole said, minutes from the last couple of meetings. Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm just waving goodbye.
Oh, okay.
You guys have fun with the rest of the meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bob.
So yes, we do have minutes for the last couple of meetings that we need to approve. If anybody has any issues with how they are presented, if not, if I could get a motion to approve them as submitted, either I think we have to do them one at a time. So if we have any issues there, and then motion in a second, and then voted as such.
This is Simone. I move to approve the minutes as they are. I guess the newest minutes. Do we have to do it separately or can we do it all at once?
We need one motion for May 24th and one motion for May 12th.
Yeah, we have to do them one at a time.
Okay. I move to approve the May 24th minutes as they are.
I'll second.
Anybody opposed? Fantastic. All right, and we also have minutes.
I'll move the approval of the May 12th minutes.
Second.
Anybody opposed? Look how easy that is. So great. Awesome. So at that end, I think we're good there. And on to our lovely calendar and figuring out, I guess, days in August when we all want to come see each other or not, depending on how available you all are.
So some things to think about. Last time we were 100% remote because of COVID. We didn't have the opportunity to meet in person for our community meetings. Online, they were attended decently well. There was a couple where no one came and a couple where we had 12 to 15. And I think we had one meeting where we had close to 19 to 22-ish in there. And those are all the comments and everything is documented in that archive site. So you can check those numbers and see how close I am if you want. It's not necessary for all the commissioners to be there, so we can divide and conquer. It is important that we have a good amount of commissioners at each meeting, and then I'll be at the meetings. And then when we think about like accessibility, we can have the meetings and for some of our locations, like for example, if we had one of them at the South Branch Library, we could do hybrid, but there are some areas of the city where it's going to have to be 100% in person because we might not have the setup to do hybrid. But I'm going to work to make all of the meetings in spaces that are as accessible as possible in each district. So there's that. I think the sooner we can do the meetings in August, the better, because if there are adjustments that come to you that you want to make, I want to make sure we have enough time. And if we do change anything, that has to be published, community comment has to be taken, etc. So there is a process that follows changes to the map after the community meetings. And I think we have until the end of October is the last council meeting before that November deadline. So it gives us enough time.
Scott, thanks. Sorry, guys. I would also want to suggest that we spread them out in terms of nights of the week, or even make sure we have one on the weekend, maybe, or even a weekday for those for seniors who might not want to be out. And just personal request if we could avoid National Night Out, which is the first Tuesday in August, because I imagine many of us like our neighbors and want to see them at National Night Out. So.
I can't do National Night Out because I will be at all of the National.
That's a good point. Well, there's usually lots of good food at National Night Out, so why would we want to miss that, right?
Yeah, my Moonlight is the neighborhood office, so I have to do that.
And mechanically, Nicole, I'm not sure how much we want to hear, but I love using what is it? Is it Doodle? Is that what it is?
Doodle poll.
Thank you. Yeah. So maybe throwing that out there as a mechanism to get our dates or something like that.
Yeah. And I think, so if that's, is the week of the 8th and the kind of end of the week of the 4th. So it'd be the 4th, 5th, 6th through the 14th. Is there anyone who like absolutely couldn't do any of those days or is out on vacation for a week that week? Jocelyn?
I was gonna ask if I could just send you the dates that I will be gone. And we are going to Hawaii.
Okay.
So I will be gone for 9 days and I can just email those to you, or if you're gonna do a doodle poll, that might be easier. But I'm available every other time and I can do weekends. For the
So
most
is
part.
it like the 4th through the 12th area?
I'm gone the 11th through the 18th.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. So if I sent out a doodle the 4th through the 15th, with some different days and times and options, and everyone filled that out, I could put together meetings based on 4 people are available here, that works, 5 are here, 3, and then put it based on where I have a good amount of you available for each one of August. And that's kind of just what I needed as a place to kind of start to pull that together for you. So look for a doodle from me probably towards the end of next week. I'll get through the garbage cleanup this weekend and then do this later. Is there any other comments, suggestions, or anything else? Thank you, Nathan, for running our meeting today and chairing for us. And if there's no other comments, I think, Nathan, you can close us out. If anyone's available and wants to do community trash cleanup this Saturday, please email me and I'll connect you with an organized cleanup effort in one of our neighborhoods, or you can just clean up around your house, the blocks around your house, and dump that garbage at one of the locations for free on Saturday. So it's pretty exciting.
That is super cool. I don't have anything else. Anybody else? No? Alrighty. Well, then I think we will see each other later. And we are adjourned. All right.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful
everybody.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.